Now, Just Stop Oil is threatening to disrupt this weekend's London Pride over sponsorship for the event. Joining me now from the organisation is Kat Scothorne. Is that how you say your name, Kat? Sorry.
Yes,
Scothorne.
it is. Hi.
OK. So tell us, why are you targeting Pride?
We're targeting Pride because the sponsorship of Pride by fossil fuels is an insult to the thousands of people who have fought and died for the rights queer people have today. And queer people actually make up a lot of Just Stop Oil, and that's because civil resistance is in our veins. We know how we got the rights we have today, and it's because people stuck their neck out and they did disruptive, annoying and effective protests, and that's how we got through the HIV/AIDS crisis. That's how we have our rights now. And for Pride to be accepting sponsorship from fossil fuel companies is just the most obscene thing when our queer siblings in the global south are on the front lines of this crisis, and queer people are disproportionately impacted by the crisis, and it's only going to get worse.
Right, let me read you some comments that we've had from members of the LGBTQ community. This one says, I do usually support campaigns aimed at encouraging organisations to do their bit. I believe Pride absolutely has a part to play in promoting good environmental stewardship. But that being said, when we continue to see rising hate crimes against LGBTQ people, I'd be very concerned. I'd say join Pride and lend your voice to progress. Please don't obstruct it. And there's another one saying, threatening a Pride event when so many of us are under attack right now, not the one. We need to come together, not attack each other. Can you see why some of the LGBTQ community are upset?
I think that upset has come from a kind of misremembering of what Pride is. Originally, Pride was a protest commemorating a riot that happened when queer people defended themselves against police in America who were invading their space and attacking them. Pride represents the civil resistance that we have had to do through the decades to actually get ourselves heard and get basic rights for ourselves. And so, obviously the people in Just Stop Oil involved in this are queer. We are very aware of the crises we face, and we know that the climate crisis is a leading part of that. When queer people are disproportionately more likely to be homeless and in poverty, when the climate crisis really triggers social collapse in our country, that is going to disproportionately affect us. And we are the ones getting scapegoated. And we know this because we're seeing it now with trans people.
So what's your demands? Because you've made demands to Pride, haven't you? What are they?
Yes, so our demands are that Pride are honest about their sponsorship and their funding, because they're not very transparent about it at the moment. Then that they accept no sponsorship from fossil fuel companies and they support no new oil and gas licenses, which is Just Stop Oil's demand, and that they educate their volunteers and hold a public meeting about the history of queer people and resistance and how we need to step up again now and fight the climate crisis.
And what if they don't meet your demands?
Then we will disrupt the event, because we absolutely have to do this. It is queer people's lives on the line.
So if people are campaigning at Pride, they're not going to get the chance to, are they, if you're going to disrupt the what they're actually doing? So you're saying was a protest and it was set up as a campaign group. You're not going to let them do that, are you, if you target it?
Well, Pride as it exists now is not going to be a protest. It's going to be kind of pretend celebration where we seem to celebrate the mass murder of fossil fuel companies.
Well, I think there's people on the Pride March would say that they're absolutely campaigning or they're celebrating or they're protesting. I know you're speaking for yourself, but there'll be those who are on the march who very much will be protesting at things.
Well, if you're protesting, then I would say we are with you and we are protesting for the same thing. We are protesting for queer liberation and for the liberation of all peoples and to stop this mass murder of the fossil fuel industry, which is disproportionately affecting queer people.
I've also spoken to someone today from the LGBT community who described the act of disrupting Pride itself as a hate crime. What do you say to that?
I would say I find that offensive because, I have faced hate crime myself as a queer person. And the hate crime is what fossil fuel companies are doing to queer people, specifically in the global south, who are on the front lines of this crisis, because they are causing the destabilisation of our life support systems. And we know that this is already affecting queer people disproportionately. When natural disasters, which are obviously increasing because of fossil fuel companies, happen, queer people are the ones who are often denied aid. That happened in Hurricane Katrina. And so that is the hate crime. All
right, Kat, thanks very much for being with us. Much appreciated. Kat Scothorne there from Just Stop Oil. We'll be continuing this discussion after 5 o'clock. So Just Stop Oil there, threatening to disrupt Pride's over sponsorship for the event. Let me know what you think. 80295, you can text me, or at BBC Radio Scott with the hashtag Drive Time. The time now is 4:30.